The Buccaneers are expected to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and most NFL fans and analysts expect the Buccaneers to suck water through a garden hose this year. But there may be a chance that the Buccaneers may be able to shock you. Oh, what, JT? You think the Buccaneers could surprise some people? Hear me out. This team is not as bad as what you may think. At wide receiver, you got Chris Godwin and the most underrated wide receiver in NFL history, Mike Evans, who's had 1,000 yards receiving every single season since he's been in the league. Their wide receiving core is really good. Baker Mayfield shouldn't be able to struggle when it comes to finding open receivers because at least one of these dudes should be open. I know Chris Godwin had a down year last year, but he was still rehabilitating from that injury that he suffered the year prior. You got a really good young running back in Rachaad White, who has great vision, great hands out of the backfield. And even though there's not a lot of confidence in Todd Bowles as a head coach, you know that he's always going to have that defense up to par. Their defense did have a slight drop-off last season, but it was more due to injuries than it was coaching. If Baker Mayfield can give the Buccaneers competent quarterback play, you mean to tell me that you don't think they would be able to compete for the NFC South? This division is not good. This is the worst division in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers are allowing their preschooler to get smacked around that quarterback. It doesn't look like they give a damn about protecting him. The Atlanta Falcons, I don't know. They could go either way. They're a really interesting team, but they're not a team that you can look at right now and be like, hell yeah, they're going to win this division. And then the New Orleans Saints, bruh, I'm not putting a single ounce of faith in Dennis Allen as a head coach. I'm sorry, Saints fans. You guys got a really good roster, but you're not going to sell me on Dennis Allen. I'll take Todd Bowles before I take Dennis Allen. At least Todd Bowles has been able to get a team to the playoffs and had a winning record. And we're not talking about what he did last season with Tampa Bay. We're talking about what he did in his early years as the head coach of the New York Jets. If Baker Mayfield can be a competent quarterback this year, he doesn't have to be great. He doesn't even have to be average. If you can give the Buccaneers just barely below average quarterback play, you're going to have a shot at winning this division because the quarterbacks in this division aren't great. Bryce Young is unproven, even though I'm high on him. Derek Carr, I don't think he's as good as what a lot of people think he is. There's a reason why the Raiders moved on from him. And the Falcons, bruh, there's just as many questions about Desmond Ridder as there are when it comes to Baker Mayfield being named the starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield, although he hasn't been great over the last couple of years, he's been passed around the NFL like, a hot potato. But he has shown the ability that if you can give him decent coaching and a decent team around him, he can win you some games. I know it's fun to make fun of Baker Mayfield, call him sorry, call him a crappy quarterback, call him a bust. But if you can give Baker Mayfield a solid team around him with some solid protection up front, he can deliver. Now, this offensive line is a huge question mark. I mean, they got Tristan Wirfs going from right tackle to left tackle, and it's stressing him out so much that he has to seek some mental therapy for it. Nothing wrong with seeking some mental therapy, but you don't really like hearing that, one of the best players on your team, especially on the offensive line, is having a little bit of anxiety when it comes to his position change. You want Tristan Wirfs to be oozing with confidence. You want Tristan Wirfs saying, hell yeah, fool, I can play right tackle and left tackle and still dominate. You don't want to hear concerns that he's a little bit, anxious about making that position change. They also got another right tackle in Gottlieb, who played guard last season, but he played right tackle most of his time when he was at Central Michigan. I mean, this offensive line is a huge concern, but if this offensive line can improve and this is a decent unit, the Buccaneers can make some noise in this division. This is not a tough division. And I'm not writing off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just because they got Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield. Like, I do believe there is a legitimate chance that the Buccaneers could win this division. This division was terrible last year and they won it because they had Tom Brady. They don't got Tom Brady anymore. They don't have old reliable. They got to go find a new identity to win. And I like Dave Canales as their offensive coordinator. Dave Canales was on Seattle's coaching staff for a couple of years. And he was on their staff last season when Geno Smith, remember the guy everybody wrote off and didn't write back? Yeah, he ended up having one of the best touchdown to interception ratios in the NFL last year. He was the biggest story in the league. Dave Canales comes to Tampa, and you kind of have a similar situation where Baker Mayfield has been thrown around the league a lot. He's been doubted. He's been extremely scrutinized by the national media. And he has a chance to kind of make the best of his last potential opportunity as a starting quarterback in the NFL with Dave Canales. Dave Canales is going to be running a quarterback-friendly system. This is a system that is going to be tailor-made for Baker Mayfield to have an easy time being able to understand the terminology. This isn't going to be one of those complicated, complex offenses where it may take a couple of weeks for everything to start clicking. Dave Canales is building an offense that should fit Baker Mayfield really well. There's going to be a lot of bootlegs, a lot of play action, getting Baker Mayfield on the move, outside the pocket. When was Baker Mayfield playing his best football? In 2020, the year the Browns went to the playoffs, right? What did the Browns do that season that had Baker Mayfield performing at that level? Using play action, getting him outside the pocket on rollouts, bootlegs. That's where Baker Mayfield thrived. And if Dave Canales can do the same thing that the Browns did with Baker Mayfield in 2020, with the talent that they have at wide receiver, even if their offensive line is shaky, Baker Mayfield can have some success. Now, Baker Mayfield has to do a better job at making better decisions with the football, not being reckless in, the fourth quarter of games. But he has looked really good in the preseason, surprisingly. Because when you listen to the reports that were coming out about him out of training camp, you were like, bruh, is this dude even going to be able to beat out Kyle Trask? But he has. And I'm not a Baker Mayfield hater. I actually root for Baker Mayfield. I like his personality. I feel like he's a little misunderstood. But at the same time, the NFL is a performance-based business. And if you don't perform, then you're not going to get a lot of respect in this business. If Baker Mayfield goes out and plays serviceable football for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all they really need him to do is be a good game manager. Don't turn the damn football over. You're going to have a great defense. We know this. Okay, Todd Bowles, despite all the skepticism about him as the head coach, we can at least trust him to have a great defense. He's proven that. He's proven that no matter how bad his teams are, his defenses are always going to be top notch. It's really just the offense. And there wasn't really any better that the Buccaneers could do at quarterback. You think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make this team even better than what they are with Baker Mayfield? Jimmy G's better than Baker Mayfield, but not by a huge margin. I think that Baker Mayfield has a really good opportunity to resurrect his career. Good group of wide receivers, great running back in the backfield. Your offensive line may not be great, but I mean, for the most part, Baker Mayfield should be able to have some success in Tampa Bay. And if he can be a top 18 quarterback this year, I think that possibly could be good enough to win the NFC South. When we're looking at Tampa Bay overall, though, from a realistic standpoint and not a hypothetical standpoint, this team probably won't be that good this year. They probably should be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Todd Bowles isn't a great head coach. Even though I'll take him before I trust Dennis Allen, that's not really saying too much. His teams don't really look all that prepared. They don't really make great adjustments. There's a lot of questionable decision making. Like, y'all remember that damn fake punt against the Cincinnati Bengals, bro? Like, what the hell was up with that? You feel me? So I'm not really expecting the Buccaneers to surprise anybody or to shock us. But I'm at least taking the time to acknowledge that there is a chance that Tampa Bay could surprise.